I wrong for pretending not to recognize my parents when they try to reconnect? I was raised mostly by my uncle and aunt. My older sister developed a serious illness when I was 6, and my parents decided that they couldn't care for both of us, I guess. So they kind of unceremoniously dumped me at my grandparents and my uncle took me in. Like, didn't even explain to me what was going on. Just, you're going to visit Gran for a while and never picked me back up. My grandparents and uncle explained it later, and they were pretty livid at my parents. I've seen my parents maybe 5 times since then, and not at all for the last 9 years. I decided to stop having contact with them when I was 12, and since I was the only one reaching out, all communication broke down. It turned out okay. I love my aunt and uncle, and it turns out that they can have kids, so they've always said I'm their miracle child. I was just misrouted by the stork at first. I was formally adopted by them when I turned 18. I wish it had been earlier, but there was some red tape things that would have made that really expensive and difficult. I'm 21 now. My sister passed away between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I made a trip back from school for the funeral. But I stayed in the back and left before my bio parents could talk to me. They called my uncle to try to talk to me, but I said I didn't want to, so he told them that I wasn't available at the moment. They finally caught up to me over Christmas when I went to midnight mass with my grandma and approached me and tried to give me a hug. I did recognize them, but I pretended not to and just backed off and said, "Sorry, do I know you?" They said, "We're your parents." And I said, "My parents are at home," and went and sat down with my grandma. They sat behind us and I could feel the stare. And on the way out, they were like, "You really don't recognize us?" And I said, "Oh, are you my dad's brother? I think I remember you from when I was little." My grandma thinks they deserved it, trying to come back to me like nothing happened. But they wrote me a long letter about how hurt they were and that I should understand that they were trying to do the right thing and how they'll always be my parents and I can't change that. Other family members think I was too harsh as they're grieving, but I don't think they should get a pass just because they remembered me now that my sister is gone.
This is why you should always be aware of your surroundings. I think I almost got trafficked yesterday. Let me tell you how. So I ordered Wingstop online to pick up. So once it's ready, like, I drive there and I park like right in front of the Wingstop. Like, this is the Wingstop and I parked like right there. I get out of my car. Let me just say this, I don't use any cash. I always use a card. And I didn't even need to grab my wallet. All I did was grab my car key when I got out of my car and I walked inside. As I'm walking inside, this guy gets up from a table and he walks outside. So I grab my food, I actually leave it right there and I go and get my drink, like I get a fountain drink. So I go get my Coke and then I'm walking outside, and as I'm walking outside, I see the guy and he's like standing like right next to his car. So like my car is like here and his car is like here in the parking, like right here. And I'm walking out and right next to the driver's side door, I see $6 laid flat. There was like a $5 bill and a $1 bill. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Girl, you should have grabbed those $6. Let me tell you something. My life isn't worth $6. So I see the $6 and I'm like looking around and I know the $6 aren't mine. Like, I don't carry any cash. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get in my car right away. I locked the doors and I drove home. And I'm like, as I'm driving home, I actually said this on Instagram. As I'm driving home, I'm like thinking like, what if like those $5 were like laced with something? Because the guy was like standing by his car. He didn't go inside his car. He like walked out of Wingstop as soon as I walked in, was just standing there by his car. I'm like, no, like that's why you have to be aware of your surroundings. Like when I go out, I'm always making sure no one's following me. If I see a car following me, I will not pull up to my house. Like I will go around the neighborhood again because I am not, no, like you need to be aware of your surroundings. If you see any like paper on the floor next to the driver's side, any money, don't get down and grab it. You don't know if it could be laced with something that can like paralyze you or drug you or something.
So my boyfriend and I had been dating for years and we both were starting to feel like we were ready to maybe take that next step and get engaged. And I start catching my boyfriend in a couple of like little white lies, and he like just had his phone location turned off, like was working late, but then wasn't actually working late. And he has never done this before. So I'm justifiably freaked out. I totally confront the situation. And he admits, "I've been ring shopping." And I'm like, "Great, this is fantastic. Like, I'm so excited." But one of my friends warns me. She's like, "Listen, that could just be an excuse. Maybe you caught him. Maybe he panicked and like came up with that as a lie. So just like keep your wits about you." So my wits are about me. And over the coming months, I can't help but notice that we're missing all of these like prime proposal opportunities. And he's not taking them. Like Christmas, Valentine's Day, day, so I'm getting a little bit suspicious. We have a trip to Disneyland coming up, and I think there's no way he's proposing on the Disneyland trip. That's not the kind of proposal that I want, so I'm not even really worried about it. But then we get there and he's acting so bizarre. He's on his phone 24/7. He's looking at other people in the crowd like that were passing by. I'm like, are you checking out other women in front of me? So I'm getting really sussed out because this man is never on his phone, and suddenly like you could not part this thing from his hand, and he's being so weird. So it occurs to me, maybe he's gonna propose. And so that's kind of like the saving grace in the back of my head, keeping me from freaking out and confronting the situation. But then we pass this outdoor mall and we see a Tiffany store, and he goes, oh, let's go in there and I can get an idea of what kind of rings that you like. And that's when it clicks in my mind. I'm like, sir, you not only were definitely lying about having looked at rings all of those months ago, if you're just now trying to get an idea of what I like, but also you've been on your phone 24/7. You're acting so weird. If it's not a proposal, you're texting someone else. Like, it's cheating, like, for sure. So I immediately shut down. I'm like, we're not breaking up on day one of this trip, but we are definitely breaking up when we get home. Like, out of chances. It was not healthy. Like, I was very much like trying to protect myself. I was so nervous and so scared. So anyway, we keep walking. Like, I know he knows that I'm pissed. I kind of confronted him a little bit where he doesn't even do anything to defend himself. And we just keep walking along the boardwalk. Anyway, he turns me toward him suddenly. He starts talking really seriously to me, and I'm like, oh, he's about to break up with me. He knows he's been caught cheating. He's about to like admit it and break up with me. And then he gets down on one knee and proposes. And it was like the pendulum swung right the other direction. I freaked out, screaming, crying. Turns out my parents and his parents had been in California from states away. We passed them multiple times on the boardwalk and I didn't see. That's who he's making eyes at, trying to like get away. And yeah, that is how I almost broke up with my husband right before he proposed to me. And thankfully I did not. And we are very happily married.
My mom is a snake. I will never forget the time I told her about this new boy that I liked, and I sent her a picture of us together, and she posted it on Facebook. And I called her and I was like, take that down. Take it down right now. And she was like, what? He's never gonna see it. What are you talking about? And I was like, that's so funny, because why did you tag him? Why did you tag him? She tagged him on Facebook. She tagged his profile on Facebook. Who does that? When has that ever been a normal thing for people to do, ever? I just remembered in middle school, I hated going to youth group, but I was in love with one of the boys that was in youth group. He was so hot. I like refused to go unless I thought it was a day that he might be there. So my mom went in my church directory, found his mom's email, emailed his mom and said, my daughter is in love with your son. So can you tell me what days he's gonna be there? That way Becca will go to youth group. And I never found out that she did that until he blocked me on everything one day. And I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And no one told me that she did that until I graduated from high school and I ran into the kid at a party and he let me know what happened. Obviously, I was so mad and my mom was like, what? I was just trying to set you up. I don't know. In what world? You can't just email. You can't email the parents of someone asking them to like your child. You can't do that. That's not how things work. Anyways, those were a long time ago, so I thought like by now I could trust her. No. No. I've noticed that she's kind of like an encyclopedia for any random guy I've talked to in the past like 5 years. And she always sends me the guys that I've like met their TikToks. And I've always thought, that's so weird. They must like show up in her For You page a lot. No, she follows each and every guy that I've ever mentioned. She like barely follows me. Barely. I don't even know if she follows me. A picture of my face is the only two videos that she has posted on her profile. For a woman who has no idea who Beyonce is, how do you know the first and last name of the guy I went on one date with 2 weeks ago? And why, Kathy, are you commenting LOL under his latest TikToks? Anyways, I just blocked her. So yeah.